Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking what feels like the ultimate shortcut to financial literacy. But we're not really looking at charts or stocks or interest rates today.
No.
We're going straight to let's call it the internal architecture, the psychology, that really underpins every successful financial decision you'll probably ever make.
That's exactly right. Our sources, they don't treat personal finance as just, an arithmetic problem. It's seen much more as a behavioral and emotional one.
Okay.
And we've got this powerful blueprint for financial transformation. And its core message is basically this: understanding your internal narratives, the stories you tell yourself, and your automatic habits.
Well, that's the absolute first, most crucial step.
Yeah.
Without that solid foundation, any budget, any investment strategy, it's really just built on sand.
So our mission today is to kind of synthesize the foundational strategies you need to master personal finance. We're going to unpack those invisible scripts, the limiting beliefs, and then decode the automatic loops, the emotional spending triggers. Yeah, the things that happen almost without thinking.
Exactly. The things that ultimately dictate if you save or spend or invest effectively. So let's start by challenging these scripts, the ones maybe we didn't even realize were running in the background. Okay, so the sources are really crystal clear on this. Limiting beliefs, often stuff we picked up in childhood, maybe inherited. They act as these huge barriers.
Immutable ones, yeah.
And the most common one seems to be that quiet, sort of self-defeating sentence, "I'm just not good with money."
Oh, that phrase. It's such a huge psychological roadblock. And it stems directly from, a fixed mindset about financial aptitude.
Fixed mindset, meaning you think you're either born good with money or not.
Precisely. The moment you internalize that sentence, "I'm not good with money," you've essentially given yourself permission, an excuse really, to embrace what psychologists call learned helplessness.
Okay, explain the financial consequence of that learned helplessness. It sounds like it's more than just lacking a bit of confidence.
Oh, it absolutely is. If you genuinely believe financial intelligence is some fixed trait that you just lack, why would you ever try to tackle complex financial tasks?
Right, you wouldn't bother.
Why read that complicated retirement account disclosure? Why try to understand tax implications or, long-term compounding formulas? This fixed mindset, it actively encourages avoidance.
So you just stop trying.
You stop experimenting, you stop learning, and that leads directly to maintaining your financial status quo, even if it's destructive.
And okay, so if you're battling that internal script, the outside world isn't exactly helping, is it? We're just relentlessly bombarded by media equating personal worth and happiness with stuff.
Exactly. It's this endless feed, isn't it? Luxury cars, opulent lifestyles, and it fosters this profound sense of inadequacy. We feel perpetually behind, and that deep-seated feeling, that's a really powerful driver of impulsive spending. It's like a desperate attempt to temporarily close that gap between our perceived reality and this media-driven ideal.
Okay, so when these internal beliefs crash into those external pressures, we get these two dominant ways of thinking about finance: scarcity versus abundance.
That's the core distinction, yeah.
Let's look at scarcity first. What does that actually look like in practice? I mean, beyond just being frugal, which isn't necessarily bad.
Right, frugality is different. In a pure scarcity framework, money isn't really seen as a tool for growth. It's more like a shield against disaster.
Okay.
And this often manifests as, hoarding. We see people keeping excessive amounts of cash or leaving far too much money in extremely low-interest savings accounts.
But hang on, isn't having a high cash reserve just being smart and cautious? How do we tell the difference between necessary caution and, self-sabotaging scarcity?
That is the critical distinction. Strategic saving, that involves maintaining a healthy, accessible emergency fund, say 3 to 6 months of expenses, right?
Yeah, the standard advice.
Scarcity hoarding is keeping far more than that, often double or triple that amount, purely out of the fear of losing it, not because there's a plan or need to use it. And when inflation's high, like it has been, those large idle sums are actively losing purchasing power.
So the cost of having zero risk is actually a guaranteed loss over time.
Guaranteed loss, exactly. The fear of loss paralyzes you into decisions that actually guarantee a slow financial decline.
Wow.
And this fear, it completely paralyzes investing too. The scarcity-driven person avoids the stock market because they see risk as a personal flaw to be avoided at all costs rather than a calculated part of growth.
And if they do invest,
If they do, they're incredibly prone to panic selling at the first dip. They're constantly second-guessing. They miss out on the power of compounding because they're just prioritizing protecting the principal above absolutely everything else.
Okay, that paints a clear picture. So that brings us to the flip side, the abundance mindset. How does that change the script, especially when looking at something most people fear, like debt?
Right. Scarcity sees all debt as just stress, maybe even a moral failure. Abundance, on the other hand, views certain types of debt as a strategic tool. Leverage.
Okay, leverage. How?
An abundance mindset differentiates. It sees the difference between, say, consumer debt credit cards for stuff you don't need, which basically depletes your future self.
Right.
And strategic debt. Think like a mortgage that builds equity over time, or maybe a business loan where the potential return on that investment clearly outweighs the cost of borrowing.
So it's not about avoiding debt altogether.
Not necessarily. It's about making sure the debt serves a productive purpose, that it actually enhances your financial future rather than detracting from it.
And does this abundance framework apply to spotting opportunities too?
Absolutely. Scarcity sees opportunities as rare, fleeting things. So you either jump in too quickly, maybe without enough research.
Or you're too scared to act at all.
Exactly. Or you dismiss them out of fear. Abundance, though, it sees opportunities as, well, more constantly available, accessible. It allows for more diligence, more patience in evaluating them. It's a completely different posture toward the financial world, really.
That shift in psychological posture, that sounds vital. But the transition from just believing something to actually acting on it, that's where most people stumble, isn't it?
That's the gap.
You might intellectually understand abundance, but your actions might still be ruled by, fear or impulse. So let's talk about the specific emotional triggers that actively drive detrimental spending. We need to identify the real why behind that impulse purchase.
Okay. The sources, they really pinpoint 3 primary emotional culprits. Number 1 is stress. Big one.
Makes sense.
For many people, spending is a very rapid, though short-term coping mechanism. When life feels overwhelming, that quick purchase offers this momentary burst of feeling in control or maybe just distraction.
But the relief doesn't last.
Doesn't last at all. That's the danger. It creates this vicious loop. Stress leads to spending, which leads to financial distress, which, of course, increases the initial stress.
Okay, so stress is number 1. What's next?
Number 2 is boredom. Seriously. Unstructured time can be a real enemy of a healthy budget.
Guilty as charged sometimes.
We all are. That void leads to just mindlessly scrolling online, right? And the browsing itself becomes a form of cheap entertainment. Then the purchases get rationalized with minimal effort. Oh, I deserve this, or look, it's on sale, it's too good to pass up.
Yeah, the sale justification is powerful.
Very. And the third trigger is celebration or reward. Now, acknowledging milestones is healthy, of course.
Sure.
But the problem arises when the reward becomes disproportionately large compared to the achievement. You hit a small work goal and suddenly you justify, I don't know, a $500 gadget.
Oof, yeah.
This mechanism, it erodes savings really quickly because we can frequently find excuses to celebrate minor things, often without even tracking the cumulative cost of all those little rewards.
Yeah. Okay, so to expose these automatic emotional responses, the sources recommend a tool that sounds simple, maybe deceptively so. The spending journal.
Yeah, this is pretty much non-negotiable if you want self-awareness. And it's crucial to understand it's not just an expense tracker. That's part of it, but not the whole story.
What's the extra layer?
The technique requires you to capture 3 specific things, ideally before or immediately after the purchase. First, the emotional state. Am I anxious right now? Bored? Am I just trying to justify this?
Okay.
Second, the internal prompt. What specific thought actually triggered the urge to click or buy? And third, the anticipated long-term consequence. Honestly, will I feel satisfaction tomorrow, or guilt, or strain?
That sounds deceptively simple, like I said.
Yeah.
But I imagine actually doing that, noting your emotional state right as you're about to click checkout, that must be incredibly hard to enforce initially.
Oh, the initial resistance is definitely there. It's basically the ego trying to protect the habit, right? The sources emphasize making the action ridiculously tiny at first. Just pulling out your phone and typing one single word, maybe just stressed, is often enough to create a momentary pause, even just a second or two.
Ah, okay. So it's about interrupting the flow.
Exactly. That tiny pause, that's where your conscious mind gets a fighting chance to override the automatic impulse.
Okay, so once we gain that awareness through the journal, we can move towards disrupting the habit loop. The cue, routine, reward cycle
Yeah.
that Charles Duhigg popularized.
Yes, breaking the mechanism itself.
We need to disrupt it somehow.
And here's where a deeper insight comes in, I think. The research shows the reward for a lot of impulse shopping isn't always the item itself. Sometimes it is, but often.
What is it then?
It's often that maybe 90-second dopamine hit you get from the anticipatory browsing and the act of placing the order. The routine is the reward, in a way.
Oh, okay.
So to break that loop effectively, you need to provide a competing reward, something that satisfies that same anticipatory drive or the need being met by the shopping but without the financial cost.
Okay, so give me an example. If the cue is stress, the routine is browsing Amazon, and the reward is that temporary high.
Right. You have to replace the routine. Instead of browsing, maybe you step away completely and engage in a hobby for 5 minutes. Or perhaps you deliberately check your savings account balance and focus on the feeling of progress.
Ah, swapping the source of the good feeling.
Precisely. That replacement routine needs to deliver a competing reward. Maybe it's the feeling of pride, maybe it's the visual satisfaction of seeing your investments grow even slightly, or maybe it's just the reduction in cortisol from doing 10 push-ups. If that new reward is satisfying enough, the old routine starts to lose its psychological grip.
Okay, so we've tackled the mindset piece and the emotional triggers behind the behavior. Now we need to move to the practical, structured action frameworks. This is where we build systems that actually support this new financially disciplined identity we're aiming for.
Exactly, making it sustainable.
Let's start with goal setting. The SMART framework gets mentioned a lot. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. But where do people usually fail with SMART goals in finance?
Well, interestingly, people often fail on the day achievable, but not just because the goal is objectively too big. It's often because their goals are still unconsciously filtered through their old limiting beliefs.
How so?
They might set a goal, say, saving $10,000, objectively possible, maybe. But that internal, I'm not good with money script is still running, and it sabotages the daily effort needed.
So the belief undermines the achievable part.
Exactly. The key seems to be setting truly achievable micro goals first. Things that build momentum, that reinforce the new identity, rather than setting these huge, intimidating targets that just feel paralyzing from the start.
Okay, building momentum. And we build that momentum using powerful habit techniques, like habit stacking. I like this one. It's about leveraging routines you already have.
It's super effective because it bypasses the need for sheer motivation or willpower, which we know is finite. You just use the simple formula. After I do my current habit, I will do my new financial habit.
Give example.
Okay, so if you already reliably make coffee every single morning, you stack the new habit right onto it. After I start the coffee maker, I will review my spending journal for just 3 minutes. Or after I brush my teeth, I will transfer $10 into my savings account.
You're linking the new behavior to existing neural pathways. Makes it feel more automatic.
That's the idea. Make it frictionless.
And that connects directly to another powerful psychological shift. Thinking in terms of identity-based habits, it's less about what you do and more about who you are becoming.
Yes, this is crucial. You consciously define the identity of the financially disciplined person you want to be. What do? They track spending. They are patient. They plan large purchases. Then every small financial decision you make becomes essentially a vote for that identity. When you choose to pack your lunch instead of eating out, you're not just saving, say, $15. You are actively affirming to yourself, I am a person who makes mindful financial decisions. Each action reinforces the identity.
Right. It builds on itself. Okay, so the ultimate goal of integrating all this, the mindset, the trigger awareness, the habits, is making saving and investing feel completely automatic, almost non-negotiable. Which brings us neatly to the power of automation and zero-based budgeting.
Automation, honestly, might be the single most impactful application of that classic pay-yourself-first principle.
Why so powerful?
Because you remove the need for willpower almost entirely. You set up a predetermined amount to automatically sweep into your savings or investment accounts the moment your income hits. It becomes passive execution of a proactive intention.
If the money isn't easily visible in your main checking account.
You literally can't spend it impulsively. It removes the friction, removes the daily decision. It just happens.
Okay, automation is key. And then for those who really want deep clarity and meticulous control over every single cent, zero-based budgeting, ZBB, is the system the sources often highlight.
Yes, ZBB is definitely meticulous. The core idea is simple. Income minus expenses must always equal 0. Every single dollar gets assigned a job.
Every dollar.
Every dollar. Whether that job is paying rent, contributing to savings, buying groceries, or even planned entertainment, this process is exceptionally powerful because it ruthlessly eliminates those hidden money leaks.
What kind of leaks?
Oh, things people often discover when they first do this. They find they're spending hundreds of dollars a month on maybe ghost subscriptions services they signed up for ages ago and completely forgot about.
Yeah, those free trials that became not so free.
Exactly. ZBB brings all those leaks into sharp, sometimes painful focus. It forces you to consciously decide, month after month, where every single dollar is actually flowing. Total conscious control.
Wow. Okay, this has been an incredibly deep dive. We've gone from, the psychological barriers and those scarcity beliefs all the way through to concrete, automated systems designed to support a whole new financial identity.
Yeah, I think the summary really is this. Genuine financial freedom seems to require the integration of all three: a growth mindset, disciplined habits that are built on a real self-awareness, and strategic action, often powered by automation.
It's the whole package.
And challenging those beliefs that hold you back, like, I'm not good with money, or I don't deserve wealth, it's fundamentally an affirmation of your own self-worth. It's realizing you do deserve to be financially secure.
That's a really powerful connection to make. And as we leave you today, we want to give you one final, maybe provocative thought to consider, something that builds on this integration of personal worth and financial wealth.
Right. So if cultivating a strong sense of self-worth is actually a foundational element, maybe even a prerequisite, that enables genuine financial success. Ask yourself this. What is one limiting belief about your own capacity or maybe your deservingness that you will consciously begin to rewrite starting today? Because the rewrite, it doesn't start with your bank balance. It starts with that quiet, persistent narrative running inside your own mind.